I'm going to kick things off. Welcome. My name is Edith Reitzes. Many of you know me. I am the Director of Development and Outreach here in the United States for the Daniel Centers. Thank you very much for everyone who is here. I want to do a bit of housekeeping before we start. If everybody could put their cameras or their microphones on mute, that will definitely help, if somebody has an unexpected phone call or something, that way it doesn't distract from the speaker.
You should say, put your cameras on and microphone off.
Cameras on, microphone off, thank you. If you can hold your questions, or you can put your questions in the chat, and we will have Professor Trajtenberg answer as many as he can towards the end of the session. That's basically the housekeeping. And now we can get started. I want to thank you so much again for joining. This is an unprecedented time. I say that often, and a lot of our calls start that way. And honestly, it just keeps feeling more surreal and real at the same time. We created this series to bring you, our supporters and friends, closer to Israel, and top thinkers and leaders, both in the Israeli public, and who can give an inside peek at current events and issues beyond the headlines. And boy, there's a lot of headlines and a lot to talk about, of course. It's been a week since Israel's dramatic attack on Iran, and then the ensuing missiles from Iran that have sadly targeted mostly civilians or only civilians, and causing tragic loss of life, panic, uncertainty. Last night, as you all heard probably by now, a hospital in Beersheba was directly hit. Quite devastating. And as you know, Tel Aviv, where Professor Trajtenberg is actually speaking from, continues to be a prime target. No one is immune to these missiles, and even at least 7 members of the Daniel Center community have lost their homes because of these missile attacks in Tel Aviv. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone on the call for being here, being part of our community, for caring so much. Special shout out to our board members who are leading the way and helping us expand the work of the Daniel Centers. And I would ask of you, please share with your colleagues and your friends a little bit about who we are, what we're trying to do in Israel, and what we're accomplishing thanks to you. I'm going to hand it over to Steve Bram now, out in LA. He and his wife, Julie, are really longtime, wonderful, caring friends, supporters of Israel on our work, of course. They've been so generous, hosted us in their home and introduced others to our work, and we are thankful. So Steve, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hello, everybody. My microphone works. You're okay? Let me just adjust it here. I'm glad to have a chance to say hello to everybody. My wife, Julie, and I have known Mayor for at least 10 years. We've had the pleasure of dining with him in LA and in Israel, attending services with him, being very involved in the reform community in LA. I was president of a large reform temple here, and the connection between the reform community in LA and what Mayor and his team does in Israel is so important, tremendously important. Some of the granting organizations we've worked with him to try to direct funds that way. So we just have been blessed to have called him our friend for all these years. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to say hello to everybody here. And by the way, if anybody's in LA and ever wants visit, give me a ring. I get the pleasure of saying a few words about our guest, Professor Trajtenberg. And I'm thrilled and can't wait to hear what he says, because he's on the inside. He knows what's going on there. We only read the papers. Hopefully he'll give us some inside scoop. He's been on the scientific advisory committee for the Israeli defense firm Rafal, and they're the guys who developed the Iron Dome system, thank God. He's an Army reservist with the Ministry of Defense. And most recently, he served as executive director of the National Security Studies, which is a think tank in Israel. On the economic front, he's the first chairman of the National Economic Council for the Prime Minister's Office and chairman of budgeting and planning So you didn't tune in to hear me, we tuned in to hear him, but he certainly knows his way around. So let me hand it over to Mayor to start the discussion. Thank you.
Steve, toda rabah. Thank you very much, and say hello to Julie. I didn't
I
see
will.
her. Probably she's very busy doing something for Israel or something for the synagogue or something to
Absolutely.
benefit people, and it's so nice. And I want to say that we have here not just Manuel Trajtenberg, Professor Trajtenberg, but we have his wife, Nadine. Nadine was the vice chancellor of the Israeli Bank for so many years, and both of them are devoted members at Beit Daniel. We see them, and I had the privilege to serve in so many events of the family, and it's so nice, Emmanuel, that you are here with us this evening. I will start, Emmanuel, by asking you what is going on right now in Tel Aviv. Just to introduce us, the guest that came all the way to join us in this conversation, the feeling, your take in this point in this minute.
All right. So thank you very much, Mayor. Let me say that I'm really thrilled to be able to share with you, with the like-minded friends in the US, our experiences here and our perception of what's going on. It's incredibly important in a situation like this that events, rush through to be able to, for a moment, recap and regain some perspective and to share that with our friends. But before that, I want to thank Meir Azari for his incredible leadership of Beit Daniel for so many years. We have, as Meir said, my family has been a member of Beit Daniel for over, I think, 35 years or so.
Yeah.
Who's counting?
We count 35 years since Beit Daniel was established, and we just wrote an email, 16 wars since then, 16 wars and army operations. So let's take it in perspective.
It's amazing. And I want to say that I just couldn't conceive of our lives as proud Jews in Israel without Beit Daniel. That's it. I mean, for us, it's so essential and so important. So let me go straight to the matter, and for that, I will share a presentation that will help to fix, the notions I want to share with you. So let's think of this as, let me just try to, okay. Can you see it well?
Yeah.
All right. So essentially, the first question that comes to mind is, why now? I mean, we have been engaged in this unfortunate conflict with Iran for at least 3 decades. We didn't choose to be in this conflict, okay? But Iran, and particularly the current supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, he has stated clearly that the destruction of Israel, or rather the way he calls it, the Zionist entity, okay, is a prime goal of his regime. And so we have been forced into this conflict. And we have done many things, as you know, over the years, but this is the first time that we have gone into an all-out kind of strike on Iran. Why now? So first of all, the first reason is that the Iron Swords War that started on October 7th brought about 2 results that were really unplanned. We didn't think we were going to get into that, but they happened. The first is we crushed the Hezbollah. It's not over with Hezbollah, but their main, at least attack capacity, has been greatly diminished. And that in itself, that set in movement a process that led soon after to the collapse of the Syrian regime. Now, I want you to see what does it mean from our point of view. So first of all, why is it not working? Wait a second. Okay. So this is a map that we should all know well, okay? Now, Hezbollah had prior to September of last year, about 150,000 rockets and missiles pointed at Israel, okay? But there were also the Shiite militias in Syria and in Iraq, also with their own arsenal of missiles pointed at Israel, and of course, Iran with its own arsenal. So what that meant is that for years, whenever we would consider engaging Iran head on, okay, there was the threat of Hezbollah with its 150,000 missiles, and that was for Iran the insurance policy that we will not dare to attack Iran or confront Iran directly. Well, Hezbollah is gone, not entirely, but sufficiently, and Syria has collapsed. And after the collapse of the regime, of the Assad regime there, we made sure to clean up, okay, the whole of Syria, particularly of the anti-aircraft batteries that were there. So what happened is that as a consequence of all that, we found that we have a corridor for our Air Force to go through Syria, the northern part of Iraq, straight into Iran. And this is dramatic because until that time, our airplanes had to fire from very far away onto targets in Iran, and that greatly limited our ability to strike Iran. So this was opened up to us, okay? The second reason why now is urgency. Iran is much closer to a nuclear device than advertised, okay? We know that. The Israeli intelligence that knows every step of its, today, or I don't remember where today or late last night, we eliminated the third commander-in-chief of the Iranian army when he was fleeing to the mountains. So we know everything that happens there. We know how close Iran was to a nuclear device. Of course, there are politically motivated, skeptical pundits in the US and other places say, no, Iran wasn't really intending, wasn't that close, etc., etc. We know better. And the other urgency element is that, yes, there were negotiations going on between the US administration, Wyckoff, and Iran, and we knew that there was a chance there that the US and Iran will strike a flawed agreement, particularly in terms of enforcement. And that was very worrying for us. And lastly, but not least, this issue commands a very wide consensus in Israel. I mean, there are very few issues that we have consensus, but in this issue, there is. Actually, today or yesterday, the Institute for the IDI, for Israeli Democracy, they published the latest survey. Over 80%, close to 90% of Israeli people support and concur with the need to take action. And there are no extraneous motives in the decision to go to war. And this is something that in the past year and a half, we haven't been saying very often in a different context. So we can rest assured that that's the case. All right. So that's the urgency. What are the goals of the operation Am Kelavim? The main and explicit goal is to remove significantly, and there is the word missing, the threat of a nuclear Iran and of ballistic missiles. Ballistic missiles in big quantities pose a tremendous threat that we cannot really live with. Secondly, an additional goal is to stop Iran from sponsoring terror and what Iran has been doing for so many years to prop up these proxies all around Israel, creating this, what they call the circle of fire on us. Now, there are other possible consequences that are not explicit goals and shouldn't be explicit goals, but they are equally important. One, of course, is to weaken the Iranian regime. I want to emphasize this point. One of the reasons, this is not really publicized, but one of the reasons that Israel has such an amazing intelligence in Iran is that a vast majority of the population is strongly against the regime, and so they are ready to collaborate with us in providing intelligence. I mean, this is something that you couldn't do otherwise, and it's a symptom of what's going on. Secondly, yes, we will like very much if this operation creates conditions that may lead to a political change in Iran. In the end, the only way to assure that Iran will not turn nuclear is if the government, is the legitimate government of Iran, goes back on its explicit goal of eliminating Israel and eliminates its nuclear ambitions. For that to happen, there has to be political change there. Can we bring about that change? No, but we can create the conditions that may lead to that. And if there is diplomacy, and in the end there is going to be diplomacy, okay, we can hope, if there is an agreement, that it will much improve as a consequence of this operation. Now, what have we achieved so far? The opening strike was unbelievable. It was stunning. I won't go through that, but we all know, the extraordinary first day of the Six-Day War, okay? Believe me that this exceeds that, and it will be so reviewed in history. We decapitated, essentially, the military leadership of Iran, and we keep doing it because every time there is a replacement, okay, we eliminate them as well. Now, I want to, again, emphasize one point. It's not just that you eliminate the military leadership, but these people have been there in those positions for a very long time. It's not lehavdil, okay, like in Israel, that every 3 years, okay, the generals change jobs and then out, okay? No, they stay in the same capacity for many years. And the supreme leader, Khamenei, he had a circle of people that he cultivated, that he had faith in them, trust in them for many, many decades. And all of a sudden, all of them are gone. And so the supreme leader is completely isolated, okay? He doesn't know whom to trust. Those that are appointed are under tremendous fear of being eliminated as well. So this is incredibly important. We neutralize the air defenses, so creating this corridor for the Air Force. Again, the fact that our planes are 24/7 on Iran, on Tehran, is something unthinkable, okay? And it's happening. We damage seriously the launching capabilities, both of missiles and of UAVs, okay, of drones and so forth. We didn't eliminate that. They have a lot, but we seriously degraded that. We managed to inflict great damage to Natanz. Natanz is, aside from Fordo, the main enrichment facility, okay, and this is almost out of commission. There are many other elements, components to the nuclear program. It's not just enriching uranium. It's much more than that. And we are systematically taking out these components, and we eliminated, a bunch of nuclear scientists that were key to create the nuclear bomb. Now, I want to say the following. On each of these, we should say Dayenu. Dayenu. Dayenu, the same way we say it in Pesach. Because if tomorrow morning this ends, because suppose that the US imposes a ceasefire, we should say Dayenu. This is a tremendous achievement that sets back Iranian nuclear ambitions a long way, and it's not clear whether and how they can recreate that. This is a map that gives you some sense of what's going on. The red dots are confirmed Israeli strikes. So you can see that the western area of Tehran is the one that we hit the most, is the area where they have most of these facilities. Here is Natanz, okay, that enrichment plant. This is Isfahan. It's not an enrichment, but a conversion plant that is needed for the process of creating the bomb, okay? We also hit in Tabriz and in other areas, okay? And within Tehran, we keep taking out more and more facilities, both of the nuclear plants and also of missile launch. The one place we haven't hit is Fordo. Fordo, as you know, is inside the mountain, okay? And in order to really eliminate it, the only way to do it is to use what's called Moav. Moav is the mother of all bombs. It's a 14 tons bomb that only the US has, and only the US has the means to deliver it, either with a B-2 bomber stationed in Diego Garcia in the island, or the B-52. We cannot do it. The US can do it in 10 hours. That's it. I put out Fordo out of commission. Now, Iranian attacks on Israel, of course, they have been, hitting us. But I want to say this, and we say tfu tfu in Hebrew, tfu tfu, it has been far less than original scenarios. Now, I've been personally involved in discussions with the security officers years back about the scenarios of if we get into a war with Iran. And believe me, what we are experiencing, which is bad enough, is a far cry from what we were afraid of, okay? So how come? First of all, because of the first strike, the shock and awe of the first strike. And we keep downgrading their capabilities day in and day out all the time. And of course, and our anti-missile system, the Arrow, the Kipat Barzel, and so forth and so on. And also because the public in Israel, for a change, is being very responsible, okay? And the people that unfortunately died was because they didn't have a shelter next to them, and they didn't go to a public one that is available. The other point to understand is that there is a great asymmetry in this tit for tat. Every time we drop a bomb in Iran, we are degrading their capabilities. It's serving a purpose every single hour, okay? Their strikes on us, okay, are painful, okay, are Halila, okay, but they don't dent our capabilities. This is very important. And still, we have, as I said, unprecedented destruction. The country is paralyzed. There is closure of the airspace. And Israel public is really tired, is worn out. I want to show you just what happened last night and early morning. This is Ramat Gan, the place where the missile hit. Okay, this is Holon. This is the third time they get hit, okay? And this is Soroka Hospital, okay, that was hit. Fortunately, the place that it received the direct hit was evacuated the night before. I mean, it's really, otherwise I don't want to think, but still everybody had to be evacuated from the hospital. Now, people ask the question, could it linger into a war of attrition? Highly unlikely. Why? Because everybody has too much to lose and too little to gain, okay? Iran, I mean, just the damage that they are being inflicted, I mean, it's amazing, and this is destabilizing the regime, so they don't want it to continue. From our point of view, The problem is that even a few missiles, okay, every so often paralyze our life. And as I said, yes, we have to recognize we have resilience, but we are tired. I mean, we have been in on and off, during for now 21 months. So there is that. And from the point of view of Trump, okay, a prolonged conflict is against his instincts, his policies. It can harm the global economy. He needs to show he's in control. And Netanyahu, a main player here, by taking this action, he has finally secured his historical legacy. And it's so important for him. For once, there is consensus on his actions, and this could lead to end the war in Gaza. So what's next? What are the possible scenarios? As we speak, Trump has convened the key players in the national security establishment in the US at the White House. They are discussing exactly this, whether to strike at Fordo and so forth. It's not just Fordo, but mainly at Fordo. Now, if they do that, there are two possible outcomes. One is that after striking Fordo and a few other targets, the US will say, okay, that's it, we did it. Okay, so there is a unilateral end of hostilities, like they happened with the Houthis, and then they tell Iran, stop, they tell Israel, stop, we are done. Okay, so that's the best possible outcome. But there is another possibility that we shouldn't dismiss offhand, and that is that a desperate Iran tries to inflict damage to the Gulf countries, to the Emirates, to Saudi Arabia, to US bases, and therefore generate a chaos and convulsion, okay, that the world will say, hey, guys, we cannot tolerate this. So I don't think that there is a very high probability, but we should put it on the table. The other possibility, if the US doesn't strike, is that nevertheless, in a few days, the US imposes a ceasefire. How? Well, they have leverage both on Iran and on us. The leverage on Iran is very clear. The threat of going in full force. The leverage on us, it's also clear. We need the ammunition, we need the support, we need the intel, we need the CENTCOM to keep supporting us, etc., etc. And then, after imposing the ceasefire, they restart the negotiations with Iran on a much better footing. Okay, I want to emphasize this. In any case, the US holds the key to the endgame. I mean, because of all of that. We cannot really unilaterally say, okay, we are done, Dayenu, okay, see you next time. Iran is desperate to seek a ceasefire, but they cannot do it by themselves. So clearly, okay, here the US will play a key role in the end game, and it may take one of these forms. Now, there is here a strategic opportunity for Israel if, again, this ends in a few days and the goals are mostly achieved. First of all, this has been a dramatic turnabout for Israel. I mean, remember October 7th, we felt defeated, we felt violated, we felt, crushed. And from then, this arc towards, wiping out Hezbollah, Syria is gone, and now hitting, flying on the skies of Tehran, and having improved our security enormously. So this is restoring Israel's self-confidence. That's very important. After the trauma of October 7th, we once again can project power and maybe induce deterrence. Now, I wrote here beware, because the term deterrence is persona non grata in Israel. Why? Because we say, no, the Hamas will not attack us because they are deterred. No, the Hezbollah will not. So deterrence is a bit out of the lexicon, but nevertheless. If this happens, okay, then we can conceive of ending this multi-front war or wars ignited by October 7th, including ending the painful carnage in Gaza and returning the hostages. Why would it end? Because from the point of view of our enemies, we have managed to neutralize, to render them inoperative, mostly, okay? There is anti-regime resentment, okay, there is in Iran, in Lebanon, there has been a fantastic change, okay, with the new president against Hezbollah. It will take them, in any case, a very long time to recover. And we hope that some of them realize that violence leads only to their own destruction. In terms of Israel, okay, we can, because of our self-confidence and security situation has improved so much, we can allow ourselves to be large, as we say in Hebrew, to be softer and to entertain painful concessions. And if all of this happens, there is already a very promising path to normalization with Saudi Arabia, other countries, and the reshaping of the Middle East for the better. Still, we face huge challenges. The Palestinian conflict is not going anywhere. I mean, it's there. We need to confront it. We need to, in the end, to draw a path towards a political settlement. There is no other way. We have been badly affected in the international arena. We need to restore our international standing. We need to reassure Jewish communities around the world that have been affected so much because of everything that has been happening. But above all, we need to push the restart button for Israel. We need to overcome political divisions. We need a new leadership. We need to reformulate the Zionist vision, and it's upon us to do that, okay, once we get to that point. And the main lesson from October 7 is not just that we didn't have defenses on the border with Gaza. The fact is that we ignore the issues. We postpone facing them. We were complacent, okay? We were that way with Hamas, with Hezbollah, with the Palestinians, with Iran. Yeh beseder, okay? We thought to ourselves, no more, okay? We need to confront head-on the issues, also the internal issues, the Haredim, the cost of living, housing, the integration of Israeli Arabs, etc., 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 etc. Okay? We cannot no longer be complacent. Okay? That's the main lesson. Take charge of our destiny and reformulate the Zionist vision. We shall face those challenges, believe me, and we shall prevail. I'm Israel Chai. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow. Emmanuel, I've heard hundreds of people in the Israeli television and guys from all over the world. That was brilliant, what we have heard. And the spirit that you brought to us. First the knowledge and then the spirit. It's amazing. I mean, kol hakavod. Thank you very much on behalf of all of us. And seeing the scene here, nobody left us. I mean, people, it's amazing. It's really the best of the best. When we wrote to you that you'll have the opportunity to hear from one of the brightest people of our country, of our Israel. Questions, Edith. People a few questions. So
we have questions, and I was going to say, if you don't have an Instagram account, you need one, and you need people the way you clearly explain this in such wonderful, clear steps. I think all of us learned quite a bit, and you were able to pull so much information that we're here everywhere into something very concise. So thank you. And I'm going to pose the questions in the order that we got them. Rabbi Saltzman asked, in bombing nuclear plants, is there any release of radiation? How many people would be subject to radiation? Is this part of the calculation?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. No, the bombing in Natanz and so forth, these are enrichment plants that what you do there is you put out the centrifuge. I mean, it's not the problem that may arise if we bomb the stock of uranium that has already been enriched to 60%, okay? We don't know, well, I should qualify that. I don't know, okay, where that uranium is, but Israel is very careful actually not to hit that directly because of exactly the issue that you raised.
We hope so.
Great. Okay, that's good to know. The next question that we have, hold on, I have to get back to my screen. Apologies. Is
Maybe
from
until then,
John.
Emmanuel, you mentioned Netanyahu and his legacy. Can you talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I mean,
Because I presume that most of us are liberal Jews here, probably didn't support A and B in the election here and there. What is going on with Netanyahu? The poll from yesterday, what is your prediction?
well, prediction, I don't know, but let me say something about the legacy, okay? As you know, Mayor, I've known Netanyahu for many years on a personal basis. I mean, I have long talks with him one-on-one, and every conversation with him, we somehow gravitate back to his father, the historian, okay? And we will discuss history. I mean, really, I mean, kind of, and he is obsessed with leaving a mark in Jewish history of a Maccabean proportion, okay? And he sees truly, I mean, Iran as the existential threat on Israel and the Jewish people, okay? And his role is to put an end to or to kind of greatly downgrade that threat, okay? At the same time, what happened in the last few years is that he has been embroiled, okay, in this, you know, coalition of Michiganders, okay, that he created, and in sowing divisions within Israel and so forth, that of course was leading him down a path where he was going to be in history the bad guy, okay, and he knew that. It's not that he didn't know that. You know, if things would have ended, okay, I don't know, a year ago, okay, he would have gone down history as the guy responsible for October 7th, as the guy responsible for sowing this, you know, split within the Jewish people with that, and so forth and so on. So for him, doing this is redemption. And doing that allows him, it's really not to essentially say, okay, now I can behave in a different way, in a way that's closer to us, okay? Closer to Judaism, if you wish, to the principles and so forth, because I already did that. Okay, that's my reading of him.
Yeah, he did.
Yes. So, John Bowers, first off, thanks you for a brilliant talk and asked, what is the effect on the Israeli economy? And do you really believe regime change is realistic?
So the first is, you know, this is affecting our economy, no question of that. But let me say that very clearly. There is a huge difference between being hit, you know, buildings are destroyed, the country is paralyzed. So that, you know, is a price you pay, which is very confined, okay, in time and in quantity. This is very different from being under constant threat, kind of, you know, people becoming demoralized over time, people leaving, the country being ostracized and so forth. This is a huge difference. I'm not too concerned about this past week. And if this ends in a few days, it will cost us 10 billion shekels. I don't for a moment think that that's trivial, but that's not the issue. Okay, the issue is how do you emerge, okay, at the end of the line, also from an economic point of view. In terms of regime change, I hate that term because we are not in the business of regime change. Okay, it's it's something that you cannot think of it. Think of the Soviet. The Iran is very similar to the Soviet Union. Okay, in what sense? And this is important to understand. In the Soviet Union, there were two establishments. There was the Communist Party, okay, that controlled big chunks of the economy directly, okay, and that exercised control over the other organs. But there was also the military, okay, there was the KGB and so forth and so on. The same happens in Iran. There is the Revolutionary Guards, okay, it's an enormous body of people and institutions that they control about directly 1/3 of the economy, and they have their own air force. Essentially, their air force is the one that controls the missiles. They control the nuclear program and so forth and so on. And then there is the Iranian army, and other civil operations. Okay,
They had to kill two chiefs of staff and two
That's
head
right.
of
I mean,
Air Force
essentially,
and two head of the navies and two head of the
no, the
intelligence.
Navy, no, but the Navy is only the Army, okay? But yes, with the Air Force, because it's different anyway. So essentially, the Communist Party, the Revolutionary Guards, they are the ones that hold the real power, okay? And they have become over the years more and more autocratic, dictator-like, okay, oppressive. People hate them, okay? They don't hate the army. They hate the Revolutionary Guards, okay? Now, can we change that? No. In the same way that nobody could bring about the collapse of the Soviet Union. But you can help. The same way that Ronald Reagan helped when he engaged in the Star Wars arms race, okay? That put enormous pressure on the Soviet economy and essentially foster its collapse, okay? So essentially what we are talking, I mean, in the end, it has to implode, okay, from within, okay? You cannot make it happen directly, but you contribute to it to happen.
Thank you. I'm going to switch gears. Larry Wolf asked about, you had mentioned the path to a political solution with the Palestinian issue. Do you believe that this two-state solution is realistic?
I think I will answer the same way as with the regime change in Iran. There are certain things that in the end have to happen, okay? And in the end, we definitely, the Palestinian people will have to find their own state, okay? Now, can we tomorrow morning go into that directly? No way, okay? I mean, the conditions are not there for many reasons. But we should know that in the end, there is no other solution. Essentially what I tell myself, is the following. How was the State of Israel created? It was created in the wake of the UN resolution, the 29th of November, 1947, the partition, okay? We accepted the partition, okay? And we should accept it again. Of course, they didn't accept it back then, okay? And they paid the consequences, okay? And the Hamas never accepted it, okay? So, we need to go back to basics at some point.
By the way, there is a note from the White House that says that the guy will decide in the next 2 weeks. And there's a room for negotiation.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So that's the second option then.
It gives us another 2 weeks of missiles upon Tel Aviv, and so
I don't think that 2 weeks is too long, but anyway.
it will be shorter than that, no doubt. And they're waiting for the army to come closer to Iran.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, what's missing there, and it's 1 day or 2 days away, is the destroyers that carry these anti-missile systems, okay, that are very important to defend the Gulf.
So now we have a few more military strategic questions, and then I think we can probably wrap this up if there's more questions, which I'm sure there'll be more. If the U.S., this is from John Greenbaum, if the U.S. decided not to use their means to bomb Fordow, does Israel have the capacity to go at it alone? Does the Iranian Navy pose any threat on the Strait of Hormuz, or is their military in such disarray that they're simply a non-factor?
And Manuel, I will add to that another part. People in Israel started to talk about a ground operation. We can't do that by bombing the place. Maybe we can take it over. I mean,
so with Fordow, I mean, we cannot, as I said, we don't have the capacity to make it collapse, okay? Because anyway, we don't have, okay? Now, there are other options there, and it's no secret. I mean, that place has, there are entrances and there are ventilations, spots, and so forth, electricity generation. So there are vulnerabilities there that can be attacked, okay? And they're very important. Now, why haven't we done that? Let me suggest humbly, okay, that we didn't do that because we were leaving the job for the US, okay? Now, if the US absolutely wouldn't do it, then I think I dare to entertain the idea that we will do those things. In terms of a ground operation, I don't think so. I mean, it's possible, the idea comes from what we did in
Syria.
Yeah, which is stunning. But Syria is much closer. It's a different story. So I wouldn't. I think so. The point is, we can seriously damage Fordow, okay, going solo, but not destroy the core of it, okay, the internal core.
And I think one of our guests here had asked about, could a commando force go in? And I think you just answered we could, but it's probably highly doubtful. And one of the final questions was, why not eliminate the supreme leader?
So, as you know, actually, even in the last couple of hours, the Minister of Defense here, Israel Katz, says something, and then Netanyahu says something else, and so forth. There is a ping pong going on between them about that. I think that we shouldn't do it, and the reason is that this guy is 86 years old. He has a son. I don't remember how old the son is, but I presume 60 or something like that, in much better shape. And he may be more radicalized. So I'm not sure this is the sort of thing that you do it and you really cannot at all predict what will be the result, okay? And we have bad experiences with that. In the guy, we took out the guy that preceded Nasrallah, okay? So if I were to be asked, I would say, nope, we have other targets.
Great. I think we're going to have one final question from Steve Bram, who introduced you. If regime change did occur, would there be a reason not to destroy Fordow, but to let it be utilized for peaceful energy production? It is $1 billion facility.
So, there is nothing there that can be used for peaceful purposes. I mean, in order to enrich uranium for peaceful purposes, you need to enrich it to 3.5% maximum, okay, at the most, okay? What they have in Fordow is the latest types of centrifuges that make sense, or then there are thousands, okay? Only if you want to enrich to the higher grades, okay? 60, to make a bomb, you need 92% enrichment. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, it's like, I don't know, having a Ferrari to go around the corner. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So there is no civilian use
Purpose.
for that.
Wow.
Manuel, toda raba. Thank you so much. Edith, you want to say something? I mean,
Yeah.
I believe that all of us got the best of the best, the opportunity to hear about what is going on at this point, really from the expert and the guy that talk was there, a real guy on the ground. Emmanuel, that was unbelievable. Thank you. Thank you. I think on behalf of all of us.
My pleasure. Thank you very
Edith, you
much.
want to say something? And,
Yes,
we'll say a
definitely.
word about Beit Daniel, and
Yeah.
of course the prayer for the state of Israel at this point that we so needed,
We'll do that in a second.
Yeah.
I think that if you allow us to give you just a quick update on, and some of you have already seen our emails about what is going on at the Daniel Centers, what our teams are doing. At this time, and there's research, and we have to find that show that at times of crises, people turn to spirituality, turn to each other and community in greater numbers. We're very, very proud to say that all our rabbis, lay leaders, volunteers, professional staff are around the clock being there to support the community and beyond, not just official members, because we don't operate necessarily as a membership organization in the way like the US synagogues do. Our guest house, as you might have seen in yesterday's email from Mayor, is in Jaffa. It is, of course, we are expecting a full house of birthright kids, and that is an income source for us. That is now, of course, gone. But we are using it to house soldiers, IDF soldiers, military personnel, home front command personnel. We provide them services other than a warm bed and food, things to help kind of detract from the stress that they're under. We put almost everything on Zoom for our community and anybody who wants it. So the building itself, right at this point, is shut down, although those hopefully restrictions will change. And so we are working. We are nothing if not creative. And I know the word resilient is here everywhere, and probably emails from every Israeli group that you're getting. But we are nothing if not resilient, creative. And we can do this because of you, to be quite fair and honest. We can do this when you are able to support us. We can do this and create what we say, like for the day after October 7th. How does Israel look like? What does it look like? It is because we create people who are dedicated to Judaism and Zionism, as Professor Trajtenberg mentioned, and we do it because of you. So we very much thank you for your support, your continued support. And we look forward to putting on a few more events like this to keep you updated. As many of you who've been with us in the past, you know the cadre of speakers we have, and we do things a little different, and we find that it's hopefully very eye-opening and helpful for all of you who care so much and are from afar. So thank you. I'm going to put the link to our donation.
And we need your support.
Yes,
We need
I'm
your
going to put the
support.
link in, which
And
we
I would
don't
like to
usually do.
recognize the president of David Gilat, our chairperson. David, say hi to the guys here.
Hello.
David is doing a wonderful job in the last few years as the chairperson of Beit Daniel. And it's so nice to see you here this evening. We have the board of our friends of Beit Daniel, many people from our board, as well as Edith mentioned. And I would like to introduce Rabbi Benny Minich. Benny is our rabbi in Mishkenot Ruth Daniel. We have a congregation there called Keilat Daniel. Benny is about to become in the next few days the chairperson of our rabbinical association, equivalent to the CCR. I served in that position many, many years ago, for many years, and now Benny is going to take this position. And I'm so happy that Benny is progressing to a leadership role. He's doing a wonderful job in Jaffa. Benny, you're going to lead us in the service. Maybe before that, you say a word about what is going on in your community, about Anne-Marie. Maybe take that as an example of the work that we do. Benny, it's your turn.
Yes, good evening, friends. Thank you, Mayor. I would like to add that tonight I was supposed to be also
Benny, can you speak louder? I think
louder than I speak right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to be tonight at the big ceremony in Hebrew University of Jerusalem, celebrating 40 influential alumni of the Hebrew University before their 40s, being one of them. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I'm sitting in front of this distinguished group of people. But mostly in recent days, I work from home because I have little kids, and my wife is a doctor, so she's working outside of home. But still, we're trying to do our best for families of our congregants. We have at least 2 families who lost their homes during the recent strike on Bat Yam, and we try to help them as much as we can. Of course, in addition of what the municipality is providing, which is good, but not a lot. Also, we, in addition of what Edith mentioned in Mishkenot Ruth, we afforded to at least 2 families of our members and members and circles of our congregations to be hosted there because their houses are not built with any shelter, public or private. So this is also something that we do, and of course we did for learning and prayer. Today we had a big interfaith prayer where me and Rabbi Galia we participated, and we will keep doing our sacred job because that's what our members are expecting of us. That's why they come. They want to be a part of the values of liberal Judaism. So let me share the. Oh, Tamara, you're sharing the prayer?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, oh, so I'll read it from the screen because it's different of what I have. Protector, rock, and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for our redemption. Shield it beneath the wings of your steadfast love, and spread over it the shelter of your peace. May a spark of your spirit inspire the actions of its president, prime minister, officials, judges, and advisors, that they may follow the path of righteousness, liberty, and freedom. Strengthen the hands of those who build and protect our holy land, and grant them salvation and life. Grant peace to this land and everlasting joy to its inhabitants, to all its inhabitants. Be near to all the people of Israel throughout the lands of their dispersion. Plant within their hearts the love of Zion, and with those of our people who are so inspired, come to Jerusalem, your city, which bears your name. Spread your spirit over all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot hatred, jealousy, and evil. Plant in our hearts love and peoplehood, peace and friendship, and speedily fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither will they learn war anymore. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. Guys, thank you very much for being with us this morning, afternoon, evening. We're so proud that we're able to, give you the opportunity to hear those people like Professor Trajtenberg. And I hope to see you in a better time in Israel or in North America. Be in touch. For the people in Israel in this point, every word from you, every email, letter, telephone gives us a lot of courage and inspiration. It's really a challenge for the Israeli society, not just for the Israeli army and the politicians and those who are working in the field, but this every grandmother, every grandfather, every kid, every teacher, every rabbi. It's a different type of a war. It's more than October 7, the challenge to the streets of Israel is enormous. I will give you just one example. My home in Ramat Gan. And Bet Daniel and Mishkenot Ruth Daniel, all of those places, 3 places that I count, the area around those places, 500 around those places bombs hit. So can you imagine to yourself, one person that this is my life between Mishkanot Ru Daniel, Bet Daniel, my home, each one of them around 500 meters, some kind of a missile hit. So we feel it, we hear it, and we need your support and love at this point. Thank you very, very much for being with us. Write to us, call to us. We'll do our best to keep Bet Daniel and the work that we do. Any
And
questions?
feel-